Om Tat Sat Divine Self. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti channel from Swami Nikhilananda. My humble prostrations to the all-pervading Brahman, to my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananji Maharaj, to Ram Parivar and all sages and saints, and to each of you, divine soul, watching today's satsang. So we are starting a new scripture today. It is a wonderful journey. The scripture is called Mysticism of the Ramayana. So you must have heard of Lord Rama and his glories, and in this wonderful scripture, uh, Guruji Swami Jyotirmayananji has narrated the mystical and the deeper insights, and it will be a wonderful journey that we can all take together. So commentary is by my Guruji Swami Jyotirmayananji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So let's get started on this wonderful holy scripture, Ramayana, mysticism of Ramayana. So let us first pray to Lord Rama and chant this beautiful mantra. Prasannatam yana gata abhishekatastatha namam le vanvas dukkhataha mukhambuj shri raghunandasya me sadastu sa manjul mangal prada. Meaning, may that cheerful face of Lord Rama, which did not lose its splendor when he was banished to the forest, nor became more radiant when he was about to be coronated king. May that lotus face of Rama bring tender delight and sweet auspiciousness in our lives from day to day. So this is a beautiful reminder to handle adversity and prosperity with equanimity. And what great heights was that? One day you were going to be coronated king, and the very next morning you are told not only will you not be coronated king, but you have to spend 14 years in the forest. And this is why Ramayana is so deep, so profound, and so blissful for us. And if we hear it with devotion, it is sure to open our inner eye and take us to deeper spiritual depths. So let us get started. The introduction part. Swami Vivekananda, a renowned sage of modern times, once said that if there were a great flood and all the Indian scriptures were washed away except for one copy of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and one copy of the Ramayana, then all the greatness of Sanatan Dharma Hindu culture would come back again on the basis of just these two scriptures. The Ramayana, the story of Lord Rama and his exploits, has achieved tremendous popularity because it appeals to every heart in a mysterious way. There is something so fascinating about the Ramayana that the story is well known not only in India but all over the world, in the islands of Java, Bali, Sumatra, and in Thailand, China, Tibet, Russia, etc. They are all now starting to enjoy the deep insights from the Ramayana. There are variations of the Ramayana and they're popular, and in each one of them, Rama is adored as a human and spiritual ideal. So, what kind of a life we should live in this human embodiment? So let's talk about sage Valmiki. The Ramayana was originally written by sage Valmiki, perhaps thousands of years before Christ. There are many interesting stories about the life of this extraordinary sage who composed not only the Ramayana but Yoga Vasishtha as well. And as many of you know, we cover Yoga Vasishtha every Friday evening at 7:30 p.m. and we go live on Facebook, so anybody can join us and listen to those glorious teachings. But that is also written, it's called Maharamayana, and that was also written by sage Valmiki. Before he became a saint, sage Valmiki was a robber known as Ratnakara, which literally means one who hoards precious items such as jewels and gold. Ratna means jewel. One day, when Ratnakara was prowling on the countryside, he encountered Narad Muni and other celestial sages who were traveling on the road. Seeing that they were defenseless, Ratnakar prepared to rob them of their possessions and kill them if necessary. Seeing this rogue approach with evil intention, Narad Muni asked him, "For whom do you perform this miserable deed of hurting others? And for whom do you accumulate such bad karmas?" So Narad Muni is a representation of satsanga, good company. So Ratnakar replied, "I have to maintain a large family and my karma is being shared by all of them. Therefore, I have nothing to worry about. I am doing all this not for myself but for my family." "Are you sure," asked Narada, "that your family members are willing to share all your negative karmas and the miseries you will encounter in addition to the material comforts and things you bring for them?" Intrigued by this question, Ratnakar became thoughtful and decided to confront and ask his relatives. From their answers, he realized that even the closest relatives are eager to share the joy that one brings, but not the sorrows. Reflecting on this realization, Ratnakara suddenly developed dispassion and saw before his eyes the massive sins he had committed in order to maintain those who did not really care for his welfare. Then he came to the sages and fell at their feet, asking for initiation into a mantra. And that is the Guru Shishya relationship, where the knowledge is transferred from the divine master to the spiritual aspirant. It is said that Narada told him to recite the mantra Rama Rama at first, but Valmiki's tongue became tied because of the troubled conscience. He could not bring such a holy name on his lips. How could such a sacred name be recited by someone who had done so many hideous crimes? So Narada, seeing the difficulty, instructed him to recite the words Mara Mara, which means the reverse of Rama. Mara means dead in Hindi. Of course, this was easy for him because he had been an instrument of death for so many people. So that came naturally to him and he started chanting mantra Mara Mara. As Ratnakar repeatedly recited Mara Mara, the mantra turned itself around and became Rama Rama, Mara Mara, Rama Rama, Rama. So that's how the saints tricked him into that beautiful, for his own benefit. When the saints give us medicine, they make sure it is guiding us and helpful for us. So he became a great ascetic, sage Valmiki. So immersed was he in the repetition of the mantra that he passed into a state of samadhi, which means a super consciousness state, which lasted for a long time. An ant hill was formed upon his body, and nobody knew there was a sage underneath the ant hill. Centuries passed, and eventually Ratnakar attained enlightenment. Then, by cosmic will, that ant hill was washed as if his entire body by Indra's torrential rain that he sent. The ascetic emerged out of the ant hill a totally changed personality and was called Valmiki, which means an ant hill. Soon he had an ashram and great disciples flocked to him for guidance. Yet he did not have a clear idea of what was his spiritual mission and what would he actually be. All that he knew was the name of Rama, and he got the glory of that name. So according to the divine plan, Valmiki was wandering through the forest one day when suddenly he became fascinated by two croncha birds who were delighting in each other's company. So they were having a merry good time together. The couple uh, birds, and they were in ecstasy, enjoying themselves. As the birds sported together with such blissful experience, Valmiki was suddenly distracted by the shouts and the arrow that came and hit From nowhere, it hit one of the birds suddenly, without warning, and from an unknown direction, killing the male bird, leaving the female bird shrieking in despair. Happiness had instantly turned into pathetic sorrow. So, on one side, they were having a wonderful time sporting with each other, and in an instant, that arrow came and killed the male bird, who shrieked in pain and passed away, with the female bird not knowing what to do, in a helpless state. As her cries pervaded the atmosphere, the sage was touched by the anguish of the tender bird. So we will continue the satsanga tomorrow. I try to keep it 10 minutes or so. That way it's easy for us to follow on a daily basis. And may Lord Rama's blessings be upon us as we start this holy journey together. And we will see you tomorrow. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Om Tat Sat.